Stop scrolling. If sometimes you have done nothing all day, yet you are exhausted. Your doctor says you are fine, your labs are normal, but you feel like you had run a marathon while sitting on the couch. Why? Because your brain is currently spending energy you didn't know you had. In this video, we are going to dive into the deep psychology of invisible burnout. I have broken this lesson into two critical parts. Chapter 1. Here we are identifying the silent leaks, the exact psychological reasons why your energy is disappearing. We also diagnose why doing nothing is actually the most draining thing you can do. Chapter 2. This is where the real shift happens. I will show you how to flip the switch from standby mood to active power. You need to stick with me until the very end because Chapter 2 is where the entire lesson unfolds. We solve the paradox of the healthy tired person and the psychological framework to reclaim your drive. Let's get started with Chapter 1. The hidden fatigue your body is not telling you. You slept. You ate. You did almost nothing today, yet you still feel deeply tired. That is not laziness. That is psychological fatigue disguised as physical tiredness. And most people never discover the real cause. Let's begin with a truth that sounds uncomfortable but scientifically accurate. You can be physically healthy and still mentally exhausted because energy is not only produced by muscles. It is heavily regulated by the brain. Therefore, your brain is the most energy-consuming organ in your body. Even when you are sitting still, it is burning massive amounts of energy, processing thoughts, emotions, memories, fears, and silent internal conversations. So when you say, I did nothing today, why am I tired? What you actually mean is this: my brain never rested. Here's the first deep psychological reason why you feel tired even when you have not done any physical strenuous task. 1. Mental overload without physical output. When your mind is constantly thinking, analyzing, worrying, replaying conversations, imagining outcomes, and silently stressing, your brain remains in a state of cognitive activity, even if your body is inactive. This creates what psychologists call cognitive fatigue. You are not tired from action. You are tired from thinking without release. And the dangerous part? Thinking feels invisible. But neurologically, it is extremely expensive. Now, while you are observing your typical rest day, you are not lifting weights. You are not running. But your mind is scrolling, comparing, planning, doubting, overanalyzing, and worrying about the future. Your body is resting. Your mind is working overtime. That imbalance creates silent exhaustion that depletes your energy. Number 2, emotional suppression. This drains more energy than action. Emotional suppression is another powerful factor which consumes your energy, and most people ignore it. When you constantly hold emotions inside, stress, anxiety, disappointment, frustration, your brain allocates energy to emotional regulation. This is called emotional load. You may look calm externally, but internally your nervous system is processing unresolved emotional tension. And emotional processing consumes energy continuously. That is why someone can sit all day and still feel drained, because suppressed emotions do not disappear. They convert into mental fatigue. Now let's go deeper. Number 3, the brain's threat detection system never turns off. Your brain is biologically wired to scan for threats, not just physical danger, social danger, future uncertainty, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. Even when you are resting, your subconscious mind may still be in alert mode. This activates low-level stress hormones like cortisol, not enough to make you panic, but enough to make you tired. Chronic low-level stress is one of the biggest causes of unexplained fatigue. Here is something shocking. You can feel tired not because you used energy, but because your brain is preventing relaxation. This is psychological hypervigilance. And it happens silently. Number 4, decision fatigue from everyday life. Even if you do nothing, your brain still makes hundreds of micro decisions daily. What to watch, what to eat, what to reply, what to think about, what to avoid, what to worry about. Each decision consumes mental energy. By evening, your brain is depleted. Not from action, but from constant internal processing. This is called decision fatigue, and it makes healthy people feel strangely exhausted. Let me tell you something very important. Stillness is not the same as rest. Scrolling is not rest. Overthinking is not rest. Worrying quietly is not rest. True rest happens only when the nervous system feels safe. And most modern minds never reach that state. Number 5. Dopamine imbalance from passive stimulation. Another hidden cause of fatigue is passive dopamine consumption. Endless scrolling, short videos, constant digital stimulation. This floods your brain with quick dopamine spikes without meaningful effort. Over time, your baseline motivation drops. You feel tired not because you lack energy, but because your brain becomes overstimulated yet underfulfilled. This creates mental fog and low drive. Now, pause and reflect. Have you really been resting? Or have you been mentally consuming all day? Because there is a big difference. And your brain knows the difference even if you don't. This brings us to the most important part. Watch till the end so you don't miss the most vital lessons of the video. To fully understand how to actually execute that shift, we have to move into the crucial segment of the lesson. Chapter 2. Why your mind feels exhausted even when your life looks easy. Now we enter the deeper psychological layer most people never understand. Fatigue is not always physical. Sometimes it is identity-based. Number 6. Lack of purpose creates invisible exhaustion. When your brain lacks meaningful direction, it enters a low-energy state. Why? Because the brain is wired to conserve energy when it detects lack of purpose. If your days feel repetitive, unclear, or mentally unstimulating in a meaningful way, your brain reduces motivation output. This creates a feeling of tiredness even in physically healthy individuals, not because the body is weak, but because the mind is unengaged. Number 7. Overthinking without action causes mental burnout. One of the most dangerous energy drains is overthinking without execution, planning without doing, worrying without resolving, imagining without acting. This traps the brain in a loop of unfinished mental cycles. Psychologically, unfinished thoughts consume more energy than completed tasks. This is known as the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain keeps revisiting incomplete mental loops. And that constant internal looping drains your energy silently. Number 8. Poor mental boundaries and information overload. Modern life bombards your brain with information, news, social media, family pressure, comparisons, expectations. Your brain processes all of it, even subconsciously. And processing excessive information leads to mental fatigue. Mental tiredness can lead to brain fog and decreased focus, increased stress and anxiety levels, emotional exhaustion and mood swings, weakened immune system, sleep disturbances, physical fatigue and burnout. These occur because the brain's constant need to process and respond to stimuli puts it in a state of high alert, consuming a lot of energy. You may think you are resting, but your brain is digesting hundreds of psychological stimuli daily. That is not rest. That is silent overload. Number 9. Sleep quality versus mental recovery. Not the same thing. Here is a deep insight. You can sleep 8 hours and still feel tired, because sleep restores the body. But mental recovery requires emotional and psychological calm. If your mind goes to bed stressed, overthinking, or mentally stimulated, your brain never enters deep restorative states effectively. So you wake up physically rested, but mentally drained. And the fatigue continues. Number 10. Identity stress, the hidden energy leak. This is the deepest layer. This point focuses on the psychological friction between your ideal self and your current action. The concept of internal friction. We often think of energy as a physical resource like fuel in a tank. But in deep psychology, energy is also tied to congruence. There is a silent, high-voltage drain called identity stress. This happens when there's a massive gap between who you believe you are and what you are actually doing. If you identify as a high achiever, a creative person, or an action individual, but you have spent the last 4 hours staring at a screen or sitting in indecision, your brain is not actually resting. It is engaged in a violent internal tug-of-war. Because your present state contradicts who you are. The mechanism of the leak. This is the healthy, tired paradox. Physically, your muscles are relaxed. But neurologically, your prefrontal cortex is working overtime trying to resolve the cognitive dissonance. You are telling yourself, I should be working. I am wasting time. This is not who I am. Every one of those silent thoughts is a background app running on your mental operating system. It's like leaving a high-performance car idling in the driveway for 10 hours. You are not going anywhere, but you are still burning through the gas. By the time you actually decide to move, the tank is empty and the car is heated. You haven't done anything, yet you are depleted because your identity has been fighting your reality all day long. This identity stress creates a specific kind of exhaustion, shame fatigue. When you do nothing but your identity demands action, your nervous system interprets that inconsistency as a threat. It triggers a low-level freeze response. You are not resting, you are paralyzing yourself. This is why you can sit on a sofa for 6 hours and feel like you've been hit by a truck. Your brain is exhausted from the weight of the person you're not being in that moment. To stop the leak, you have to either change the action or align the identity. In conclusion, the real reason you feel tired while doing nothing is this: your body rests, but your mind never stops. And a restless mind living in a resting body creates the illusion of unexplained fatigue. The solution is not just more sleep. It is mental stillness, emotional processing, purposeful action, and reduced cognitive noise. Because true energy does not come from doing less. It comes from thinking better, feeling lighter, and living with psychological clarity. If this video made you realize why you feel tired despite being healthy, then your awareness has just increased, and awareness is the first step to mental recovery. Comment mental energy if this explained your hidden fatigue. Like the video, subscribe, and stay with this psychology journey, because the next lessons will help you regain your focus, clarity, and inner energy permanently.